Hi, my name's Alexis Quinn. I'm autistic and was detained against my will under the Mental Health Act in inpatient settings for many years. During that time, I was a victim of behaviour support, management, and modification, I guess. Now, in this video, I'm not going to single out a particular approach, for example, like ABBA or PBS or any other approach, actually. Instead, I want to talk more generally, I guess, about how we care for and support people that are experiencing distress. What's helpful and what's harmful. So, a lot of behaviour support these days claims to be rights respecting. Okay, it claims to value people and be values based. What I'm asking today is can it really be any of these things if it focuses on behaviour as the first point of call? So I think to start with, we need to think, don't we, about how people actually get distressed. So usually there's some sort of crisis or some sort of trauma. For me, there was like an autistic reaction, and then services responded with restriction. And again, focusing on behaviour. That increased anxiety because of the unpredictability and the very sort of changeable environment. Then I had a bigger autistic reaction. Services responded with greater restrictive practice, and so this cycle kind of went round and round. I was given a star chart, okay, which reinforced my good neurotypical looking behaviour, and I was given treats like going outside, for example, and I was stuff was taken away from me, or people refused to engage with me, okay, to talk to me or to spend time with me if I was looking more autistic. Now, obviously, that contributed to my distress, and it also created a very unsafe feeling. When people are withdrawing their support and their attention when you need it most, that really, is deeply unsettling, in the very core of you. So I think one of the issues here is the starting point of behaviour being very problematic. Somebody has decided that my behaviour or the person's behaviour needs to be modified, it needs to be improved, mainstreamed, made less extreme. So there's a power differential right there, isn't there? Yeah, and the person's agency to behave in the ways that are most comfortable for them is taken away. Okay, there's an assumption that the person has a problem. Um, Now, surely, what we need to prioritize above all else isn't moving this dial from high levels of autism to low levels of autism, or trying to carve people to look like everybody else. Surely we need to be prioritizing the person's viewpoint, yeah, their internal processes. Okay, so there's a major problem with the claim that certain behavioural approaches are rights respecting when they're focusing on behaviour. The next problem, right, is that the behaviour practitioner comes in not knowing the person, watching them for a while, yeah, ticks a couple of boxes, yeah, makes some decisions about how those working with the person will change them to meet the new behavioural objectives and goals. Usually, I might add, not the neurodiverse person's goals. And again, what's the problem here? Well, they don't know the person. Worse still is that they then leave a plan to be implemented by people that don't know what they're doing. They don't know about human rights. They don't know about being value based. They don't know about being trauma informed or whatever. They have now, these people that don't know about the behavioural approach or any of those very important human rights aspects, in their sweaty little hands, a behaviour modification plan. And this is a massive problem. There is a big gap here. And this concept of right-based behaviour modification gets watered down even more. So what do people receiving care want? Well, I know what I wanted. And I know a lot of what a lot of my friends wanted and people that I was in hospital with wanted. And what they wanted was a relational approach. They wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be accepted for who I am. I wanted people to honour me and to accept my uniqueness. I didn't want to be changed or altered to fit somebody else's idea of what normal is. So what's standing in the way, of this approach? Well, I think there's this silly idea that autistic people and perhaps people with a learning disability don't want connection. Okay, they want to be left alone. They want to be in the seclusion room. They want to be in the long-term segregation suite. They don't want to interact with people. Relationships, have to be prioritized. We have to feel comfortable, with the person that's working with us. So often in our lives, we've accrued lots of bullying and victimization and trauma, and we've learned, because we're smart people, that actually, sometimes people can be nasty, and we learn to sort of generalize that. And if we've experienced being locked up, being detained, being handcuffed, being kept in a room and not allowed out, you might see us retreat. But as this quote says at the top, even in that retreat, there's a restlessness. We want to meet others. We want to be accepted. We want people to like us for who we are. And as Mearns and Cooper say down there, without this closeness, we get frustrated and we act out because people aren't understanding what we want and what we need. Sometimes I get asked about, should we build a relationship with the person and to achieve X, Y, and Z? Well, no. There's no shortcut, right? There's no pretending. We can't use our niceness to relate to somebody, and then if they don't reciprocate, we're going to withdraw. Because believe me, that's what happened to me a lot. That's what happened to me a lot of the time. Actually, building the relationship with somebody, okay, is an end in itself. It's valuable in itself. It's the right thing to do. I don't know why this is so complicated for certain organizations and people to understand. The biggest thing, okay, is about feeling understood, right? And about feeling understood and feeling felt. Because when you're understood in these care settings, people no longer look at you like you're a freak, okay? When you're close to others and there's no agenda other than having a good relationship, you can connect deeply, you can feel safe, and you can therefore communicate in ways which aren't exhibiting distress. Now, believe me, services are lonely places, okay? Being seen as a challenge is challenging. Having nobody understand and being constantly seen as a risk to be controlled, a monster, it's so dehumanizing. And it cannot be, in my opinion, rights-based, okay, or values-driven if we are not forming these relationships as the first port of call. There is a human desire for connection. Autistic people, people with learning disabilities, are human too. And when we can, and we're given the opportunity to experience a different kind of relationship, one where we are acknowledged and met, then we will develop different assumptions and ways of relating. But all the while that we're acted upon and moulded and shaped in an aggressive behaviour modification way, it's very difficult not to be distressed. So what I'm thinking is that, if staff can create places of safety right? So that the person can actualize their capacity to relate to one another, to be able to communicate in ways which aren't loaded with distress. This is going to benefit everybody. So, what does good look like? Well, it looks like mutuality between staff and the person. Okay. So it looks like that, staff are present, the person's present, and they're met on an equal footing, right? A flattened hierarchy. And it's also about staff and the person. Remember, it's bi-directional. Okay, Damien Milton's double empathy theory. Communication is bi-directional. It's about both people in the relationship receiving the other and expressing themselves, and that being valid and okay and not judged. Yeah. And it's about being able to take in the other person and share back your genuine response in a way that's non defensive. And let's not forget non judgmental. And I think if we can do this, if we can prioritize, the relationship, there'll be no need for these checklists because you will know what an environment looks like which is good. You will know what aggravates. You will know when the person is feeling settled and calm and is happy. You will know when people's goals are their own and are being actualized. But all the while, people, that we focus on behavior, I strongly question, okay, coming back to the start of this presentation, I strongly question whether it really can be rights-based, whether behavior approaches really can be values-based. I'll leave you guys to decide. Thanks for listening.